Welcome to the Millionaire Race Podcast, where we empower you to better your financial standing. Why? So that collectively we can solve most of the socio-economic challenges that face the African American demographic today. My name is Toxio Gunyemi, your host, and I'd like to start this episode off by wishing you a very happy new year. Welcome to 2025. I've got a great feeling about this year. 2024 was definitely interesting, but there's just this buzz I feel about 2025. I feel it's going to be a great year for all of us. So buckle your seatbelts and let's go. As I've mentioned many times before, we African Americans make up 12% of the U.S. population, but only control between 2 to 4% of the wealth of this nation. Even if we go with the highest number of 4%, that's still extremely low. That's not enough for any demographic to reasonably be able to make an impact on a society, to reasonably be able to look after themselves and achieve the goals and plans that they have for themselves, to be able to look after their families, their children, and ultimately be the best that they can be. It's also why the African American demographic today has such a bad brand associated with it. We fall behind in so many socio-economic categories when it comes to education, housing, net worth, business ownership, home ownership. The list goes on. Carelessly, people attribute these difficulties to the colors of one's skin, not recognizing that any demographic that lives in pretty much poverty will display the same symptoms. Over the last year and the previous episodes, we went over actual statistics taken from the census that was completed in 2020 and 2021, from which you can gather the data on the plight of the African American demographic in the U.S. today. We went over various numbers extensively, and my solution to fixing not the entire problem, but most of it, is by all of us achieving a net worth of at least $1 million or more. There are approximately 19 million African American households in the U.S., of which only 350,000 of them can boast of a net worth of $1 million or more. If we change this, if we increase that number significantly, would things change? Would the way the African American be looked at be different? Would racism reduce? Or at least the things that are attributed to racism? I certainly think they would. If more of us had enough money to be able to contribute to the schools in our areas, where if we're able to have better homes, if we're able to have better businesses, if we're able to invest in each other's businesses, if we're able to be out of debt, to stay out of debt and help others not to get into debt, which in itself would create a lot more money flowing through the community, would it make a difference? Absolutely. Would it help us have better access to healthcare? Absolutely. Would it help us have better access to the justice system? Yes, which in turn would reduce the number of African Americans incarcerated right now, which that percentage is extremely high. The percentage of African Americans, especially males, that are incarcerated in the U.S. is proportionately much, much higher than any other demographic. And that in turn affects the family, the community, the ability to build wealth. It does so many damaging things to the community. I can go on, but of course you already know these things. And one of the things I learned from the feedback I've received from all the previous episodes is, yes, those numbers are sobering. They were sobering to me. I know they're sobering to all of us that listen to them. But we know these things and we want a solution. And yes, my solution of a net worth of $1 million for each African American household is a big one. It's not impossible by any means. We've talked about how to get there. But not only that, we spent a lot of time in the previous episodes interviewing people who are already there. And some of the feedback I got was, yes, that's great. It's great to hear from those who are there, but how are you going to help me get there? What are the steps for me to achieve the same thing? Now, we've talked about different ways to get there, different things, but what we want to focus on this year is exactly what you need to do to get there, and in the order. to get there, to simplify it. Because just like losing weight, for example, everybody knows, yes, the less you eat, the more you exercise, or the better you eat rather, and the more you exercise should help you lose weight. But that's tough to do unless you have a proper plan in place. So as we start 2025, everybody starts with resolutions. We have resolutions for different things. And unfortunately, the statistics show that by the second week of January, a lot of those resolutions are out of the window. But this is going to be a different one. I need you to make a solid resolution that this year you are going to improve your finances. This year, by the end of 2025, your finances will be in a way better place than they are at the beginning of 2025. And on my part, we'll help by showing you the steps and walking with you as you do this. Now, originally, we were going to continue interviewing people who had attained the net worth of $1 million so that they could show us how to do it. So we will still do that. But we're going to focus mostly this year on the steps to achieve that. That is my commitment to you. We're going to walk through this together. I'll show you how countless people have been able to achieve a net worth of $1 million and more. And not only that, all the wealth we're able to acquire, we have to know how to hold on to it. And the steps are quite simple. What we're going to work on this year and going forward is what I call the 5-3-1 method. It's the 5-3-1 method to attaining financial success. Now, there are many plans out there, many programs that teach you how to obtain wealth, teach you how to navigate the U.S. financial system in order to achieve and attain this wealth. There's nothing wrong with them. I applaud all the programs out there. Ours is focused specifically, however, on the African American demographic because based on the history of African Americans in this nation, how we got here in the first place and what has happened since then to keep us down, there are tweaks that we have to account for to help us to achieve what others can achieve a little bit more easily than we can. We'll be talking about those differences as we go along. But the 5-3-1 method is broken up into 5 things you need to be doing right away, 3 things that you need to continuously do, and 1 overarching thing that helps make everything else work. We're going to work through this 5-3-1 method together, and you'll see if you follow this method, you will greatly improve your financial standing. Your finances are sure to improve. So make that one of your main resolutions for this new year. Let's work on this together so that at the end of this year, we can come together and celebrate on how we've moved the needle forward. Because like I've always said, it's not enough for just 1 or 2 of us or the 350,000 families that have attained the net worth of $1 million. It needs to be all 19 million households that need that. All 19 million African American households need to have that net worth of $1 million or more so we can change the negative narrative that is associated with us so that we can actually, in this nation, achieve the real American dream. Now, when we get back, I will go over the first item in our 5-3-1 method. Welcome back to the Millionaire Race podcast. As I explained earlier, we'll be diving into the 5-3-1 method for financial success. Today, we're going to talk about the first item, and over the next few weeks, we're going to break down each of those items so that we have a clear understanding of it. There's nothing magical about any of these items, as there's nothing magical in anyone that's teaching finance today. It's just being able to put everything in the right order, in the right context. In other words, a good game plan. You can know all the moves, you can know all the plays, You can have all the skill, but you have to have a proper game plan in order to actually win the game. And that's what we're doing with this 531 method. So here we go. The first item in the 531 method is your net worth. You need to know what your net worth is. How do you calculate your net worth? We've done this many times before in previous episodes, but truly it is the first thing. You have to know this. And as we start this new year off, you should already know it. And if you don't, right after you finish listening to this podcast, it's easy to do. Your net worth is taking everything you own, the value of everything you own, and subtracting from it everything you owe, and what's left over is your net worth. Hopefully, that's a positive number. If you add up the value of your home, if you have one, your car, if you have one, any money you have in the banks, any investments, any personal property that you have, if you add up the value of all those things and you subtract any debts that you have, credit cards, the mortgage on the house, whatever it is, when you subtract that, whatever is left over is your net worth. It's a very important number to let you know exactly where you stand right now. And it's great for tracking your improvements. So if you add up everything you own and subtract everything you owe and you calculate that your net worth is, say, $100,000 or $50,000, well, that gives you a benchmark that by the end of this year, you want your net worth to have increased by 10%, 20%, 50%, 100%, whatever it is. But you have to be able to keep track of where your net worth is so that you can see how well or how poorly you're doing. According to the statistics derived from the census, which you can find on the census.gov site, the average net worth of the African American family, especially for those who don't even own a home, is less than $10,000. That means we literally don't own anything. And that has to change. So calculating your net worth is the very, very first step. It's very easy to do. So I encourage you to do that right away. In fact, the Bible itself tells us to do this. In Proverbs 27, verse 23, it says, "Be diligent to know the state of your flocks and attend to your herds." Now, in those days, wealth was based on their cattle, how much sheep and goats and other livestock that they had. That's how their wealth was measured. And the Bible says, be diligent. You have to do that. You have to be diligent. No one's going to do it for you. You have to do it yourself. Be diligent to know the state of your flocks. You need to know what you have. How's your wealth doing, right? And not only that, you need to attend to it. So we're going to work throughout the year on attending to those herds, how to make sure the herds are healthy and how to grow them and multiply them. But the very first step is be diligent to know the state of your flocks, and that is calculating your net worth. So once again, calculating your net worth is adding up everything you own and subtracting everything you owe, and what you have left is your net worth. Now, you can easily create this in a spreadsheet, a very simple spreadsheet that just adds up what you own and subtracts what you owe. If you don't have one, send me an email. Send me an email at toksy@themillrace.com. That's TOKSY at themillrace, MILRACE.com. And I'll be happy to send you a simple one that I've used for years. It's very simple, nothing special about it, but I know some folks don't. Maybe if you don't know how to use Excel or you just want something easy, I can send that to you. Send me an email and I'll send you this simple one. This way, you can not only know where you are now, but you can keep track because as you adjust the numbers in there, it adjusts your total net worth. So that's the very first step in our 531 method. You need to know your net worth. You need to constantly be aware of what your net worth is. If you do that, there is something in the subconscious mind that will help you always recognize in the decisions that you make that you need to make the smart decisions to make your net worth grow. That's the way that works. Once you know what your net worth is, in your mind, in your subconscious mind, when you're making decisions, financial decisions, you will start making financial decisions to grow your net worth, because you will understand that certain decisions you make will reduce your net worth. It will be top of mind when making financial decisions. That's the main reason why it's important to know what your net worth is. That's the main reason. Of course, the second reason is to be able to keep track as you're growing, or if things happen, to reduce your net worth, to help you recognize what you need to do to fix it, to fix the problem, to make your net worth get better. So please, as we start 2025, as you make a resolution that we're going to walk together this year to make our financial standings better, start by knowing your net worth. If you don't know it, that's okay. Let's do that today. Know what your net worth is. Proverbs 27:23. Be diligent to know the state of your flocks and attend to your herds. Next week, we'll go over the second item on the 531 method. Till then, my name is Toksio Gunyemi, your host. God bless you, and I'll see you next time.